For me personally, my character never try to attack my character. They'll say he a rat or he this and that.
Yeah.
When someone wants to criticize you, they frequently begin by disparaging your reputation. That's precisely what happened to me. By naming me, calling me a rat, or making baseless accusations against me, they attempt to undermine me and my character. But in reality, all you need to do is glance at the documentation. I have never lied to anyone in my life. In certain cases, my name does appear, but if you look closely, you'll see who collaborated and who didn't. Whether someone is a citizen or a convicted criminal, the facts are the facts, regardless of guilt or innocence. You can't mention something like that on the witness stand unless you are asked, "Did you see such and such do this?" It is the only thing that exists. However, the reality is not always dealt with on the streets. These interactions include perception. Additionally, when someone chooses to label you, it might be challenging to take that label off of you. 50 Cent is not the type of man you want to spend a lot of time with, as anyone who knows him knows. He has a sharp tongue, an endless supply of humor, and a knack for entertaining both the audience and his opponents. Snitching rumors have plagued T.E.'s career for years, but 50's voice became one of the most prominent. I had a difficult time learning the lesson. It became a storm cloud that followed him everywhere. Peer respect was lost, fans' opinions were questioned, and his name was spoken in the most disrespectful ways on the streets. Instead of allowing the fire to burn down, 50 kept stoking it by constantly reminding people of those court cases and the Crime Stoppers commercial. He initially tried to maintain his composure and seem as though nothing had bothered him. However, enough was enough at one point. As an alternative, he swung back, without paying attention to the shots. He boldly challenged the 50 to a 20-track race. He did it on his 50th birthday to keep things exciting. In addition to making matters worse, that action all but assured 50 that they would not tolerate it. The typical response from 50 was a repost of the notorious 2008 Crime Stoppers public service announcement, in which he advised viewers to contact the tip line if they had information about crimes. The internet exploded all at once. Timelines were overrun with memes, fans made jokes, and he gained popularity for all the wrong reasons. The irony of this circumstance is that T and 50 did not always disagree. They used to be at the top of the rap game, work together, respect one another, and get along great. But Tip's identity never truly vanished once it was connected to that snitch story. Tip was continually defending his reputation because 50 wouldn't bury it, regardless of his level of achievement in music or another field. And then T would play the shrewd lawyer Davis McLean in Power, which Method Man ultimately played, according to fresh speculations. Rumor has it that 50 Cent himself had obstructed the possibilities due to their past. T immediately attempted to halt it, going public to denounce it as a fraud and say that he and 50 valued each other. However, 50 never gave a yes or no response. Others began speculating about whether T had actually been left out of the circle as a result of his silence. T downplayed the rumors when questioned about them directly in an interview. He claimed that he and 50 had a tumultuous and difficult-to-understand relationship while serving as executive producers on a project unrelated to Power. There was no hostility, he said, and they admired each other's pure approach. However, fans' most frequent query was still, why does T still maintain this reputation for being harsh? Furthermore, why does 50 plan to keep mocking it? The 2007 case was the beginning of it all. T was subsequently accused of grave federal weapons violations. The stakes were really high. He might have spent 20 years behind bars. Amidst all of that, he made an appearance in a Crime Stoppers commercial, encouraging people to take action and prevent crime. To the rap community, it appeared to be the largest infraction, even though it might have been his method of raising his profile or demonstrating his good faith in court. You must never help law enforcement in any form if you want to keep your street credibility. Because of the commercial, he was labeled a snitch overnight and stayed that way. Nor did anyone make it louder than 50. He made fun of it, mentioned it in interviews, used it in songs, and ensured that remained in the memories of the culture. Furthermore, it went beyond trolling on the internet. 50 Ungunnets brought the conflict inside the studio. You're tough. How could someone be found in possession of 10 machine guns and only be sentenced to a year? He questioned, pointing directly at T. He implied that someone had to be giving information for such a small sentence to be imposed. Many people posed the question, and the whole industry paid close attention. T was taken into custody after receiving machine guns and silencers in exchange for money from his own bodyguard, who later turned out to be an informant. T was not even allowed to be near a gun, much less by a big armory, because he was a convicted felon. In spite of the seriousness of the charges, he was shockingly sentenced to house detention, community service, and a short jail term. 50 and many others could not understand it. Even when asked to clarify, 50 remained elusive in interviews, leaving the public to make the inference without mentioning T.I. by name. However, the harm had already been done. I was unable to avoid the talk that was raging in the streets. Even tried to maintain composure when asked about it by giving 50 the benefit of the doubt. He couldn't take the chance of getting too much revenge because federal officials were still keeping a tight eye on him at the moment. He has more important fights to fight. That kind of beef, however, never really goes away. It may stop talking for a while, but it always comes back. And in 2020, when Tekashi 6 was already making snitching a popular issue in the community, that is precisely what took place. In court, I quadrupled his case by knee. T was thrown back into the fire when the old Crime Stoppers tape surfaced online. It happened at the worst time. 50 jumped on it again right away, making jokes, making fun of him online, and making sure that others would remember. He even declared that if he got into a fight with T in Versus, "You So Tough" would be the first song he played. He went above and beyond to assist anyone who might have forgotten to create the link by uploading the audio from the diss track and the Crime Stoppers video. This time, T didn't sit quietly. In his online retaliation, he denied any cooperation, denied ever aiding the police, and even implied that he might have his own secrets. While writing lengthy subtitles that challenged 50 to demonstrate his cleanliness, he put down the gauntlet for a showdown with the Versus. He ridiculed the 1950s catalog, calling it out of date and costly, and was prepared to close it down for good. That intensity demonstrated the extent of his injuries from the charges. It was obvious that 50 had started a chain reaction. Interviews were impacted by the back and forth, and there is an Instagram account. T kept bringing up the Crime Stoppers recording, trying to change the facts and defend himself. However, 50 increased the pressure once again. He advised T to better keep his distance and put in his own notice. The argument seemed more threatening than amusing after that line. Following King Von's untimely demise in 2020, the situation became much more heated. T sent a statement asking people to keep their conflicts inside their local areas in order to prevent violence from spreading to Atlanta. Although many interpreted it as an attack on Von and his camp, he may have meant to defend his city. Van's sister reacted angrily, but 50 intervened once more, building on her remarks and offering his own scathing criticism. He warned T that it was not the time for smooth remarks, that people were hurting, and that he was playing with fire. As seen by another public 50 Cent tipping episode, he was obviously determined to maintain the tension. Then there was a new wave of speculation regarding T.I.'s involvement with Power. Cast members claimed that he was initially set to play Davis McLean before Method Man took his place, which fueled speculation that 50 had passed on him. T rushed onto a podcast to silence it, claiming that it was untrue and that he and 50 still held each other in high regard. But 50 remained silent once more. Furthermore, he views silence as a tactic rather than a sign of peace. He's incapable of forgetting or forgiving. When the time is right, he stops, reloads, and hits. Regarding the entire saga, fans are still split. Even though T skated with a slap on the wrist despite being discovered with an arsenal, some contend that T.I.'s low sentence speaks for itself, pointing out that others have received 10 or more years for a single pistol. The entire situation seemed to them to be one of direct or indirect collusion. Other individuals, however, alter the story to imply that his personal record isn't the best on 50. They believe that the main goal of this feud is for one powerful man to use his position to undermine another. Ultimately, it doesn't seem like the conflict between 50 Cent and T will ever be resolved. Hip-hop history has been impacted by the charges, the online posts, the diss songs, and the Crime Stoppers commercial. In addition, given 50's mentality, the question is never whether he will revisit past disputes, but rather when she will keep up her defense of his name and legacy. But regardless of what he accomplishes, those charges still loom large. Whether Tips should be called a snitch is still a contentious issue in the community. As long as 50 continues to bring up the topic, Tip will surely be unable to completely avoid it. He wouldn't have it any other way, knowing 50.